a singles trick room team, a weather controlling team, a mono ghost type team, a team full of bears, and 8 other teams all begin their journeys to be the first ever champions of the Dork Side Pokemon League. Only one team can be there at the end, but will their journey start with a Week 1 victory? That's what DSPL Weekly is about to preview next. Welcome everyone, I am Grumm, commissioner and host of the Dork Side Pokemon League, and welcome to the kickoff of the first ever season of the DSPL. I speak for the 12 general managers and the fans when I say that we are excited to present you with certainly some of the Pokemon battles of all time this season. Before I preview the season and our first slate of games, let me give you new viewers and soon-to-be fans all you need to know about the DSPL. The DSPL is made up of 12 of my friends who all have varying levels of experience with competitive Pokemon, but are all in it for fun. They will compete in a 10-week regular season with the top 6 teams advancing to a 3-round playoff structure, with the top 2 teams getting first-round byes. Each team roster will have no less than 10 Pokemon, but no more than 13. All while staying under a salary cap that is set at 120 for the first season. The teams will compete under Paldea Dex draft format on Pokemon Showdown in 6 vs 6 singles with all the standard Pokemon Showdown battle clauses in place. Each team can have up to 3 Terra Captains, a Pokemon who can terrestrialize in battle, with each captain having no more than 3 types of terrestrialization types to choose from, so long as the Pokemon are deemed eligible by the league office to be Terra Captains. For more information about the league, including Pokemon tiers, live roster tracking, and league history such as awards, draft history, and more, go to dspl.grumm.tv. Let's get to why we are all here. Allow me to introduce our teams for Season 1 in alphabetical order. We have the Arizona Diamondbacks, led by General Manager AW. The Aussie Illusion, controlled by General Manager Aussie Marcus. The Birmingham Bufalins and their General Manager Squidge. Representing Boston, General Manager Durs leads the Boston Bronzors. The British Bangers come in hot, led by their General Manager Oren. Back stateside, we have the Cambridge Clodsires, led by that Duff guy Pat. Brazilian Fury leads the Colorado Doug Trios into Season 1. Heading south to Texas for our next team, led by General Manager CJ, the Corpus Christi Crowbats. Making a return to competitive Pokemon is Johnner1223 with the Long Island Ducklets. Making his first foray into competitive Pokemon is Basque, the General Manager of the Minnesota Doduos. Coming from a very real place, the Pig's Eye Pignite, where General Manager Didac is making the jump from Nuzlocke to competitive Pokemon. And rounding out the league is the San Antonio Spheal, led by General Manager Berger. Coming into this year, the experience diff will go crazy as teams like Arizona, San Antonio, and Long Island have experience in competitive Pokemon, and you can see it in the teams that they drafted. While teams like British, Colorado, Boston, and Corpus Christi, and even Minnesota are looking to learn on the fly. This leaves teams such as Cambridge, Aussie, Birmingham, and Pig's Eye in between with Pokemon game experience such as Nuzlocke and whatnot, but not quite competitive experience. As I preview this week's slate of games, don't forget to like and subscribe for more DSPL content like general manager interviews, weekly previews, and weekly streams of the games, starting this Sunday, September 3rd at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard here on YouTube and on Twitch. We open our inaugural season with 2 of the more interesting teams in the Aussie Illusion hosting the Pig's Eye Pignite. A matchup featuring some of my favorite philosophies on display, with Ozzy Marcus's Trick Room looking to take advantage of setting Trick Room with setters like Hatterene, Cresselia, and Diancie, with attackers who can take advantage like Goldengo, King Gambit, and Iron Hands. On the other end of the field, Didac looks to win the battle before it starts by leaving his opponents feeling an eerie and haunting aura with a well-built mono-type ghost team, led by the heavy hitter, Annihilate. Pig's Eye is a one-type team, but not a one-mon team, as they look to aid Annihilate with Houndstone and the Hisuian forms of both Zoroark and Typhlosion. One of the hardest matchups to predict because Pig's Eye's ghost typing threatens half of Ozzy Marcus's Trick Room setters, giving problems to an already difficult win condition for Ozzy Marcus's squad in general. Add in potential support from Prankster Sableye and Eviolite Draclope with shields and fast taunts to disrupt Ozzy from just setting up the Trick Room, and it could get ugly fast for the Illusion. True to their name, however, these disadvantages could just be that, an illusion. With King Gambit and Goldengo as flexible options between priority Sucker Punch from Gambit and a choice Scarf Shadow Ball with trick options on Dengo, the matchup isn't as one-sided as initially looked at. For the Ozzy Illusion, the strategy this week is simple: keep King Gambit alive. That's why he's the key Pokemon for this battle for Ozzy. Dark type will completely wipe out between the Sucker Punches and the Kowtow Cleaves. Just really strong mon here. Goldengo was for some consideration, but King Gambit, especially if they get Trick Room up, it'd be really good. But the game plan for Pig's Eye, though, is to get Gambit and Dengo out from the back line as soon as possible to prevent Trick Room. And a Pokemon that will be key for the Pig's Eyes this week will be Typhlosion, the Hisuian form to be exact. Between its Choice Scarf and Choice Specs options, it is its eligibility as a Terra Captain and being named one in the recent week. It has ability to Terra into Fire, Ghost, and Fighting. 2 stabs and a resist for Typhlosion. If Didac can time it right, it'll take advantage of a Gambit that's out of position a little too early. That said, I think one strategy is a little bit easier to execute to its full potential, and that's the Illusion, because they rely on 5 Pokemon protecting 1, whereas the Pig's Eye are going to be dedicating 6 Pokemon basically to getting the King Gambit and maybe even the Dengo. So it's 2 Pokemon that will be the key to getting set up, while the other 6 on the other side are going to be going after that. I think though, I'm gonna have to go with Pig's. Having said that, I think Pig's Eye walk away with a 1-0 win. It's going to be a close one. That's why we're opening the season with with this game in particular. 2 interesting strategies, 2 interesting general managers taking on. I think Pig's Eye walks away with this one 1-0 over the Ozzy Illusion. Next on the slate, we have Boston shipping up to Minnesota to open their seasons together. General Manager Durst constructed a team that has several stalwarts and competitive Pokemon like Rotom-Wash, Corviknight, Tyranitar, Slowking, Grimmsnarl, some odd fits as well in Tropius, Ampharos, and Weirdeer. But one common theme across the Bronzors, though, is defense. Between their bulk and movesets, Durst has built a team that's going to be difficult to take out quickly. And this makes for another interesting matchup, because on the other side, Basque, the general manager for Minnesota, has gone the complete opposite and is going full offense. Minnesota is a team full of gunners, being led by first pick Greninja. The focus was to build the fastest and hardest hitting team that he could, taking mons like Cinderace, Lycanroc, Dusk, Noivern, and Weavile. And interestingly enough, Basque drafted Stantler immediately after Weirdeer was selected, so that's a little fun little trivia there. We really have both sides of a good offense makes a good defense, and a good defense makes a good offense. Neither team really has the other than its specialty. Boston's going to rely on Hisuian Arcanine and Tyranitar, as Galarian Articuno does not match up favorably against Minnesota's potential 6, be it one of the Dark types, Jolteon, Basculegion, or even Lycanroc Dusk. Conversely though, Minnesota doesn't offer much in the way of defensive resistance, perhaps the only option being an Eviolite Stantler with Intimidate, maybe even a defensively minded Leafeon, which does bode well for Boston in this matchup. I'm going to go with Boston in this game for 2 reasons, and it's the keys for each team, I should say, key Pokemon for each team. Boston's ability to survive and chip with Status and Sandstorm are going to make it hard for Minnesota to keep up and hit them as fast as possible without taking too much damage. But on the other side, Minnesota needs, and I say needs in big, bold letters. I'm going to put them down here. We put them right here. Needs Salazzle to stay alive, to spread toxic spikes and toxic status as well, because that's the only way you add extra chip to this. Boston side, though, Prankster Grumm Snarl is going to be the key for Boston, especially because fast taunt, Prankster taunt, Prankster screens, Prankster Misty Terrain to prevent status as well. All that will be good for Boston in aiding their survivability. They're staying on the field. You've got bulky Pokemon who are hard to take down in one hit without screens. Now probably going to have screen support. It's going to make the heightened defenses of Boston even higher, while making Minnesota's already slim margin of victory this week even skinnier. Boston wins 3-0. Our third game features a mixing of the tiers of teams, with Colorado hosting Long Island. Johnner's Long Island team features some serious threats like Iron Valiant, Landotherian, and Dragonite, creating a daunting first game for the Doug Trios, who are led by first-round pick Scizor, Tornadus Therian, and Lucario. Long Island's team is not just strong in the front, but it is deep with threats like Slacking, Hisuian Samurott, and Iron Threads. The later giving Long Island serious hazard control with Ceaseless Edge from Samurott and a Steel Ground typing for Iron Treads, who can use Rapid Spin very fast. Johnner's competitive advantage only boosts his odds against Brazilian Fury, as Johnner has filled the team with those threats with good support bonds like Hisuian Electrode, Spiritomb, and Prankster Murkrow, and even Ditto, who does offer a way to handle setup mons looking to sweep. Colorado does offer resistance to what is sure to be a DSPL championship contender, though, with Pokemon like Lissy, the Blaze form of Paldean Tauros, and OU tier staple Zapdos. The Doug Trios offer a few counters to an otherwise challenging matchup. For Colorado, they have to limit the amount of chip damage, be it from hazards or just switching into resistant switches. It's a tall task, but I think Zapdos' ability to take a hit and spread out some statuses with paralysis and with either discharge or its static ability, it'll turn the tide in the favor for Colorado. They have some good mons, but are kind of getting outsped by some serious threats. It's going to be tough. For Long Island, this matchup, the key to it is just don't get too far out ahead of yourselves. Don't get too far out on your skis. The matchup is in their favor based on power, but type-wise and defensive stat-wise, Colorado does have the ability to resist and last a little bit longer, handling a lot of the physical damage that the Ducklets will be dishing out. But I expect an Iron Valiant to show up and show why it was supposed to be a top 3 pick going 5, and I think Long Island comes away with a 3-0 victory. Our second half of the slate begins with the British Bangers returning to the scene of an American Revolution as they head to the New England region of America to take on the Cambridge Clodsires. Duff Guy Pat's Clods are looking to open the season with a win, leaning on their 1-2 punch of Dragapult and Great Tusk, as the British Bangers are taking the personality of their general manager and looking to be the biggest heels in the league, led by defensive front of Garganacl and Toxapex. On paper, the hosting Clodsires look like they'll walk away with a dub with some ease, especially having two of the best unaware Pokemon in the game in Clodsire and Skeledirge, as well as fast threats of Mousehold and Regieleki. Add in the potential intimidate users of Masquerain and Mabostiff, Duff Guy Pat has built himself a threatening team. The British Bangers on the other side of the field have Big Saul backing them or something, because not only do they have Toxapex and Garganacl, they also have their own unaware user in Quagsire. And it's not just a Big Saul team, no, British has brought in some of the biggest heals imaginable in the fastest protein haver in Meowscarada, the life-draining Brambleghast, the undying Screamtail, all being led by their first pick, Tinkaton. I mentioned this matchup on an on-paper sense, because on paper, the Clodsires have a strong 1-4 with Dragapult, Great Tusk, Regieleki, and Clodsire, with plenty of options to fill around it for this matchup. However, this is as far as the paper is going to go, because the British Bangers have some of the best defensive Pokemon, Garganacl, Toxapex, Screamtail, Quagsire, all covering, by the way, their own weaknesses that the that the Clodsires can actually take advantage of. I mean, there's not much grass resistance as much, but the key Pokemon for the British Bangers, though, is actually the one who does resist those grass types, being Brambleghast. It hard counters Great Tusk and Regieleki. It can get rid of hazards that Clodsire sets up with Rapid Spin, and then it can also keep itself alive and its teammates with Strength Sap and Leech Seed, which will be key for a physical Dragapult or any other physical mon that the Clodsires would actually like to bring. However, his counterpart, Tough Guy Pat, will have to actually lean on the mascot a little bit of Clodsire and threaten Garganacl, Toxapex, and Screamtail with hazards and earthquakes while keeping itself alive with Recover. So it's going to be interesting because you have these, these very strong Pokemon on Cambridge, but really it's going to be the mascot that has to do it. So, but I think this matchup comes down to right predictions at the right time. I think Cambridge comes away with the win, 2-0. Our penultimate week 1 matchup sees another international affair as the Birmingham Booffalants welcome in the Corpus Christi Crobats. As general manager of the Boof, Squidge has built a very interesting team while still having some powerhouses like Ursaluna, Chi-Yu, and Amoonguss. While CJ, the general manager of the Crobats, sees his squads being led by Garchomp, Gallade, and Charizard. With two teams looking to establish themselves early, this matchup features some interesting potential play. Birmingham's front mons of Ursaluna, Chi-Yu, and Amoonguss are supported by Eviolite, Ursaring, Rotom Heat, and the Aqua form of Paldean Tauros. Add in potential Sweeper and Poltegeist and the Unovan Zoroark, potentially playing around with its Illusion ability. Birmingham has a balanced attack of offense and defense. Across the field, Corpus Christi offers a more offensively focused team, with the previously mentioned Garchomp, Gallade, and Charizard leading a roster featuring Lycanroc Midnight, Mismagius, Rillaboom, and Serena. Corpus Christi is going to need a really good performance from Gallade this week, as its Psychic Fighting typing offers super effective stab against 8 of Birmingham's 11 rostered Pokemon. While it can outspeed the likes of Amoonguss and the Bears in Ursaluna and Ursaring, it's a bit slower than Chi-Yu, Zoroark, and Tauros. A Scarf Gallade would fix that issue, however that might cause some more issues, as the lack of power that a Choice Band or a Life Orb could offer could be the difference between one-shotting an Ursaluna and it being alive and hitting back. For Birmingham, though, I think it's not one of the major ones. I think Rotom Heat's the key Pokemon here. You gotta bring it. It's got the Levitate ability to resist earthquakes from Ursaluna. It's got some good bulk. It's fast enough to outspeed some mons, but more importantly, it can spread Will-O-Wisp to the vast physical threats like Gallade, Lycanroc, and Garchomp, who gives Rotom a chance to enter for free should it go for an earthquake. I do think this matchup comes down to whether or not Birmingham can limit the amount of damage that Gallade can do to it through smart switches, screens, status. I'd lean towards Squidge being able to do that, but I'm not expecting Corpus Christi and CJ to go down without a fight. Birmingham wins 2-0. And in our prime time game, a battle of two championship contenders, Arizona welcomes San Antonio into their battle stadium. San Antonio features a committed weather attack with both Torkoal and Pelipper on the roster and Pokemon like Walking Wake and Volcarona who could take advantage of both sun and rain. Arizona, though, will be looking to weather San Antonio's assault with strong counters like Iron Bundle, Ting-Lu, and Sneasler. That's not all Arizona brings to battle, as Arizona brings a couple Pokemon that can appreciate the weather as well, with Gyarados and Kilowattrel appreciating the rain to boost Gyarados' waterfall and giving Kilowattrel to hit thunders and hurricanes without having to worry about accuracy checks. And if San Antonio brings the sun, newly added Terra Captain Delphox will appreciate the boost to its fire-type moves, while Dachshund's well-baked body ability gives it immunity to fire-type moves while boosting its defense. San Antonio, on the other hand, has built one of the better weather-committed rosters I've ever seen. Having control of the weather, Burger can choose to focus on the sun and bring a Roaring Moon, a fast, strong physical attacker, Iron Moth, whose sun-boosted flamethrowers will take down a lot of Pokemon, and Jumpluff, whose Chlorophyll ability makes it one of the few Pokemon on the team that could outspeed anything Arizona can offer. And if Burger wishes to, he can bring a more rain-focused team, adding Overquill with Swift Swim and the option to terastallize to water to boost its liquidations. San Antonio does have one issue on its roster, and it's its vulnerability to electric types. Its only electric resist is Sawsbuck, who might not even come along for the ride. That's why Kilowattrel is the key Pokemon for the Diamondbacks. Even if San Antonio leaves Pelipper on the bench, Kilowattrel will outspeed almost anything other than maybe a jump bluff with Chlorophyll. Kilowattrel can either hit a fast Choice Specs Volt Switch for big damage or just hit a regular one without having to worry about any resists and having boots on to prevent chip damage from rocks. And if the Spheal do bring Pelipper, boy, Kilowattrel is looking at a perfect accuracy Hurricanes and Thunders in the rain. And that's why I think the key for Burger is to praise the moon, not the sun, and bring Roaring Moon, particularly one EV to get a speed boost from its photosynthesis, not an attack one. And whether Burger wants to make it a choice band, Roaring Moon, or a Life Orb to make up that lesser attack, if they want to win their first ever game, the first ever primetime game in the DSPL, they got to bring Roaring Moon. It is a must-have. It's a key to this team this week, you got to bring it. Our final clash of week 1 features 2 of the strongest teams with 2 of the most experienced general managers, but I think AW having a little bit more experience will put the Diamondbacks over the Spheal 1-0 in a nail-biter of a battle. There you have it, our preview of the first ever week of the DSPL. Our inaugural season kicks off September 3rd at 8 p.m. Eastern here on YouTube and on Twitch, twitch.tv/tgrum. You can find all that at grumm.tv. I appreciate that. Appreciate you remembering to leave a like and a subscribe to come back this week and every Sunday to watch the games live with us, including the general managers. Until then, I am Grumm. This has been DSPL Weekly here on Grumm TV. I will see you next week.
Grumm TV thanks you for watching this presentation of the Dork Side Pokemon League.